which leads me to Resilience Lesson 3. And that is, resiliency requires having an attitude that is about connecting rather than disconnecting. Because you see, fear coupled with self-isolation becomes smothering depression. And those are toxic ingredients that lead you to disconnect from the world, which is the exact wrong thing you should be doing during times of strife. But unfortunately, immediately after leaving MG Taylor, that's exactly where I was. You know, I can, in hindsight, I can give this advice, but at that time, I went back down to Orlando and shut the door. You know, the room that my parents had for me, and I wouldn't even talk to them. I'd come out and eat, and then go back into it, and you know, watch TV and sit in bed. And I was ignoring messages and calls from people who wanted to just check up on me and see how I was doing. And I remember one of the messages that I received was an email from this guy, Alan Mayfield. He was at that time the head of their knowledge worker network, inviting me to become a part of their network, what they were doing. I didn't answer it immediately because honestly, I was a little put off because at that point back then, in my warped perspective, I considered them at least partly responsible for sinking the boat that I was on. So I was like, F your invitation. And went right back into the room. And let me tell you something. I ignored it because I was too busy partying at that time. Okay, that's what kind of party was I having? Well, ain't no party like a pity party, y'all, because a pity party don't stop. So throw your hands in the air and wave them like you just don't care, because you literally just don't care. And I didn't care. The beauty, though, is that I was lucky that I was home. And my parents were there to remind me of the good that I had done. Um, and I remember my mom, before she would go to work, you know, she would knock on the door and check up on me. And this time she said, look, you know, you quit your job. You didn't quit your life. You didn't quit what you love to do. Maybe, you know, reach out to some people or something. And it was good advice. And so I realized that, yeah, you know, I can still do what I love to do. And what is that? Well, you know, I love to scribe. I love to tell visual stories in real time. I feel our job is important because it helps people distinguish the signal from the noise, which is critical in this day and age. And over my long career, I've really come to believe that I have 4 responsibilities as a real-time visual storyteller. And that is, first off, just being a reporter, documenting the key points of what you hear, capturing the facts, and putting a visual narrative around the facts. Being a mutual educator is the second role and responsibility. And what I mean by that is, as opposed to an educator or a teacher, you know, I can't go into a client job and teach them about their supply chain, you know. But just by listening to the participants and showing them where their ideals converge and diverge, I can teach them something, mutually educate them on what they already know by revealing patterns, literally helping them to see what they're talking about. Which leads to the third role and responsibility, which is being a visual modeler. And this is synthesizing concepts in real time by creating graphic models that help simplify ideas that can sometimes be complex. For instance, I'm using a bunch of words to describe my 4 roles and responsibilities, but the graphic here sums it up as an integrated model much more simply. And then finally, being an inspirer. And that means taking metaphorical comments and bringing them to life in a way that helps inspire a team. And this is where I've lived a lot in my career as a visual storyteller. And I must say that I had a scribe once asked me, he's like, oh, but what about explanation? And I said, well, if you do these 4 things in concert, because, it's not like, oh, now I'm being an inspirer, now I'm being a modeler. Now, no, it's happening organically. And if you're doing these 4 responsibilities, then the natural output of that is explanation. Because once again, you're going to explain to them, blockchain, Okay, so that leads me to, after MG Taylor, I decided to start a solo entrepreneurial vehicle for myself. And so I launched Griot's Eye, which is the name of my venture. Griot, if you don't know, I borrowed that term. It's a West African term. It means a tribe's historian, musician, praise singer, poet, or storyteller. And so my approach is that I like to think of graphic reporting as being a visual storyteller and visual songwriting. So I took the ASC up on its offer to become a part of their network. And let me tell you something, it was one of the best decisions I made, because I had a lot more growth to do. And also they were expanding, at least at that time, were really expanding on the things that we had taught them at MG Taylor. So I'm really great that I did that, because it helped me to expand my personal and professional network. But none of that would have happened if it did not look to connect with others. I mean, if I would have stayed disconnected, then none of that would have happened. And that brings me to my next lesson, lesson 4. How do you connect to bolster your resiliency during a crisis? You've got to express yourself.